That's awful. Well, what are you so happy about?
Cause if that bean crop out there gets wiped out, the price of my beans goes up.
Where are your beans?
I don't know where my beans are.
Ever watch an old TV show and think, this used to be great, what happened? You're not wrong. Many 70s and 80s shows ruined their legacy by refusing to end. We're going to reveal the exact moment they all went bad, including one show that literally jumped over a shark and another that lost its biggest star over a huge money fight. 1. Happy Days. It is hard to overstate how big Happy Days was. At first, it was a sweet, nostalgic show about Richie Cunningham, played by Ron Howard, and his family in the 1950s. It was all about first dates, family dinners, and hanging out at Arnold's. The Fonz, played by Henry Winkler, was just a side character, the cool guy in the leather jacket. But as many people know, the Fonz became the only character that mattered. The show's focus shifted entirely to him. But here's the kicker. The show is famous for one moment. It is the moment that literally gave us the phrase, jumping the shark. In the first episode of Season 5, the cast goes to Hollywood. And for some reason, the Fonz, still in his leather jacket, decides to do a water ski jump over a live shark. It was ridiculous. It was the sign that all the real, grounded family stories were gone. From that point on, the show got crazier. Richie and his dad left, and Fonzie became a teacher. They brought in a weird alien named Mork, played by Robin Williams, which was a spin-off, but it showed how desperate they were. The last few seasons were, to put it mildly, a mess. Happy Days became a cartoon of itself. But if you think its spin-off with Mork was weird, wait until you hear about its other big spin-off, which made a mistake so huge, it ruined the entire show. 2. Laverne and Shirley.
You know, lady, I got more class in my little pinky than you have in your whole thumb. Follow me.
Laverne and Shirley started as a spin-off from Happy Days. Laverne DeFazio and Shirley Feeney were two of the funniest women on TV. They were working-class girls at the Schatz Brewery in Milwaukee. Their friendship, their goofy personalities, and their dreams of a better life were what made the show great. It was full of heart and some of the best physical comedy ever. For 5 seasons, it was a massive hit. Then came Season 6. The producers, in a move that still makes no sense, decided to move the entire show. Laverne and Shirley, along with their friends, packed up and moved from Milwaukee to Burbank, California. Why? To try and become movie stars. The thing nobody tells you is that this move completely destroyed the show's soul. They weren't blue-collar brewery workers anymore. They were just 2 more people in California. The plots became slapstick overkill, just goofy and forced, without any of the original charm. Then, to make matters worse, Shirley, played by Cindy Williams, left the show. The final season was just Laverne, and it was not good. Losing half of a duo is a death sentence. But as bad as that was, our next show's problems started when they lost 1/3 of their famous trio, and the whole thing fell apart immediately. 3. Three's Company.
Okay, Chrissy, I'll get in the tub with you, then we can get it on.
The premise of Three's Company was pure 70s gold. Jack Tripper, played by the amazing John Ritter, had to pretend he was gay so his grumpy landlord, Mr. Roper, would let him live with 2 women, Janet and Chrissy. This led to endless misunderstandings, and John Ritter's physical comedy was, for a while, the funniest thing on TV. The show was a massive, massive hit, but the formula got old. Every single week, the plot was the exact same. Someone would overhear half a conversation, get the wrong idea, and run around for 20 minutes before it was all cleared up. What many overlooked at the time was how repetitive it was. But the real moment the show should have ended was in Season 5. Suzanne Somers, who played the bubbly Chrissy Snow, asked for a pay raise. She wanted to be paid as much as John Ritter, who was the star. The network said no and fired her. It was a huge, messy situation. They replaced her with her clumsy cousin Cindy, and then later with a smart nurse named Terry. But the magic was gone. The chemistry of the original three was broken, and the show just limped along for 3 more seasons on repetitive jokes. Replacing a star is a huge gamble. Our next show kept its stars, but their real-life problems turned a once heartwarming show into a sad story that just dragged on too long. 4. Different Strokes. Different Strokes was a groundbreaking show. It started with a powerful, sweet idea. A rich white man, Mr. Drummond, adopts 2 young black boys, Arnold and Willis, after their mother passes away. The show was full of heart and wasn't afraid to tackle big social issues. It was one of the first shows to do very special episodes about serious topics. And who could forget Arnold's famous catchphrase, "What you talking about, Willis?" The show was a huge hit for its first few seasons. But as the kids grew up, the show lost its way. The plots became hokey, a nicer word for silly and unbelievable. But the real problem was what was happening off-screen. The young stars of the show, Gary Coleman, Todd Bridges, and Dana Plato, were going through heartbreaking real-life troubles. As their personal problems became public, it got harder and harder to watch the show. The once cute kids were now struggling young adults, and the show's lighthearted tone just felt wrong. It stretched on for 8 long seasons, moving from NBC to ABC, and the final seasons felt like a sad echo of the great show it once was. It was a show that tried to teach lessons, but eventually became a sad lesson itself. Our next show was a spin-off that also started with a big cast, but made a shocking move that should have been the end. 5. The Facts of Life.
Every bone in my body hurts. My arms, my legs, my back, my nose.
The Facts of Life was a spin-off of Different Strokes, centered on the Drummonds' housekeeper, Mrs. Garrett. In the first season, she becomes the house mother at an all-girls boarding school. The cast was huge, with girls like a young Molly Ringwald. The show was not very good. It was messy and unfocused. So, before season 2, the producers did something shocking. They fired most of the cast. They kept only Mrs. Garrett and 3 of the girls, the beautiful Blair, the funny Tootie, and the sharp Natalie. Then they added a new character, the tough-talking Joe from the Bronx. This new, smaller group was magic. The show became a massive hit, following these 4 girls as they grew up. It should have ended when the girls graduated from school, or when Mrs. Garrett left and was replaced by her sister. But it just kept going. It lasted for 9 seasons. The last few seasons are almost unwatchable. The girls were now women in their 20s, but the plots were still childish. It was a show that just refused to graduate. A show that runs for 9 seasons is rare. Our next show was a massive hit too, but it crashed and burned so fast, it's amazing it lasted 4 seasons. 6. Mork and Mindy, Nanu Nanu.
May I be of some assistance?
Oh, sure. I guess you could set the table.
Mork and Mindy exploded onto the screen in 1978. It was a spin-off from that one weird Happy Days episode. Robin Williams played Mork, an alien from the planet Orc who came to Earth in an egg-shaped ship. He moved in with a kind woman named Mindy. The first season was pure genius. It was just an excuse to let Robin Williams be Robin Williams. He was hilarious, wild, and unlike anything else on TV. The show was a #1 hit. But then the network got scared. They thought it was too weird. For season 2, they tried to make it more normal. They got rid of some of the fun side characters and tried to make it a more traditional romantic show. That was a huge mistake. The thing nobody tells you is that this fix is what broke it. Fans hated it. The ratings dropped like a rock. For season 3, they tried to go back to being weird. For season 4, they had Mork and Mindy get married and have a baby, who was played by comedian Jonathan Winters and aged backward. It was a total, complete mess. The show that started as a phenomenon ended with a whimper after only 4 seasons, but honestly, it should have stopped after 1. Network meddling can destroy a show. Our next show was a critical darling, a truly smart comedy, but it also got watered down until it was barely recognizable. 7. Taxi.
Alex, I need that song. I'm real down. I need that song real bad.
Louis, I'll give you $1. You don't play that song again.
Okay.
Taxi was not your average sitcom. It was smart, a little sad, and full of amazing characters. It was about a group of taxi drivers in New York City, all waiting for their real lives to start. You had Alex, the amoral Louis De Palma, the sweet Elaine, and the bizarre Reverend Jim. And, of course, the strange Latka, played by Andy Kaufman. The show won a ton of Emmy Awards. It was brilliant. It ran for 4 seasons on ABC, and it was great. But the network, ABC, always felt it was too much for a wide audience. It was too gritty, too New York. They canceled it. But then a different network, NBC, saved it and brought it back for a 5th season. Fans were thrilled. But the show that came back was different. It was smoother, broader, and less New York. The sharp edges had been sanded off to appeal to more people. It felt like a cover band playing the hits. It was still Taxi, but the magic was fading. It was canceled for good after that 1 season on NBC, but many fans felt the real Taxi ended when it left ABC. Moving networks is risky. Our next show was a spin-off from a very, very weird show, and it managed to last for 6 seasons by just doing the same thing over and over. 8. Benson. If you watched TV in the 70s, you knew about soap. It was a wild, crazy show that made fun of daytime soap operas. One of the best characters was Benson Dubois, the smart, sassy butler, played by the amazing Robert Guillaume, Guillaume. He was so popular, he got his own spin-off. In Benson, he goes to work for a governor who is a bumbling cousin of his old employer's. The show started off strong. Benson was the only sane man in a house full of chaos. His sharp wit and battles with the grumpy German chef were hilarious. He was the boss, even when he was just the butler. The show was a solid hit. But it lasted for 7 seasons, and for 7 seasons, it was basically the same jokes. Benson moves up from head of household to state budget director, and eventually, he runs for governor himself. The show just got more and more repetitive. What started as a sharp spin-off about a great character just slowly ran out of gas. It should have ended after a few seasons, but it just kept going. A show running out of gas is common. Our next show was based on a great movie, but it ran for so long, it forgot what made the movie great in the first place. 9. Alice Alice was based on a very good Martin Scorsese movie called Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. The show starred Linda Lavin as Alice, a widow who moves with her son to Phoenix to become a singer. To pay the bills, she takes a job at Mel's Diner. The show was about her, the grumpy boss Mel, and her fellow waitresses, the clumsy Vera and the sassy Flo. Flo's catchphrase, "Kiss my grits," was everywhere. The show was great for a few seasons. It had a lot of heart and was about a single woman trying to make it. But then Flo left for her own spin-off, which failed. They replaced her with another sassy waitress, but it wasn't the same. The show lasted for 9 seasons, 9 years, in a greasy spoon diner. The plots became absurd. They went on road trips. They met celebrities who just happened to be eating at Mel's. After 9 seasons, Alice was still a waitress. The show totally forgot its original premise. She never became a singer. It just became an endless shift at a diner that should have closed years earlier. 9 seasons is a long time. Our next show also ran for 9 seasons, and it also forgot what made it special, trading realism for cheap laughs. 10. One Day at a Time. When One Day at a Time started, it was a big deal. It was about a single mom, Anne Romano, who moves to a new city with her 2 teenage daughters after a divorce. This was groundbreaking stuff for 1975. The show was created by Norman Lear, the same genius behind All in the Family, so it was real, smart, and funny. It tackled serious issues about being a single, working woman and raising a family. The first few seasons were fantastic, but as the show went on, it lost its grip on reality. The star, Bonnie Franklin, who played Anne, had less to do. The show became all about the daughters' romances and, to put it mildly, the building superintendent, Schneider. Schneider, played by Pat Harrington Jr., went from a funny side character to the show's main source of comedy, and it was often very, very broad. The smart, realistic show about a single mom turned into a generic, silly sitcom. It ran for 9 seasons, but it should have ended around season 4, when the original groundbreaking stories ran out. Groundbreaking realism is hard to maintain. Our next show was set in one single room for almost its entire run, but even that brilliant setup got old. 11. Barney Miller. Barney Miller was a work of genius. It was a sitcom set almost entirely in the squad room of the 12th Precinct in New York City. Captain Barney Miller, played by Hal Linden, was the calm, tired, and deeply sane center of a universe of crazy. His detectives were all brilliant, quirky characters: the naive Wojo, the sharp-dressed Harris, the aging Fish. The show was famous for its smart, quiet, character-based humor. It was one of the best shows on TV for years. But after 7 seasons, things started to wear thin. The show's creator, Danny Arnold, had health problems. But the real issue was that the cast started to leave. Abe Vigoda, who played Fish, left for his own spin-off. Max Gale, who played Wojo, was in fewer episodes. The show had to bring in a lot of one-off cops to fill the void, and it just wasn't the same. The magic came from that core group, and as that group broke apart, the show's chemistry faded. It ended after 8 seasons, but many fans felt it should have wrapped up a year or 2 earlier when the whole squad was still together. Losing key cast members is tough. Our next show was also about a team, but it was so chaotic behind the scenes that it's a miracle it lasted as long as it did. 12. WKRP in Cincinnati.
One thing is clear. This dark Wednesday will live in infamy.
It's Thursday, Les.
Thursday.
WKRP in Cincinnati was a show about a struggling radio station that gets a new program director, Andy Travis. He changes the format from boring music to rock and roll. The cast was amazing. The slick DJ, Dr. Johnny Fever, the uncool boss, Mr. Carlson, the super cool Venus Flytrap, and the beautiful receptionist, Jennifer. The show was famous for its smart humor and its amazing use of real rock music. The show was beloved by critics and had a loyal following. But here's the thing nobody tells you. The network, CBS, hated it. They never gave it a good time slot. They moved it around constantly, so fans could never find it. They also censored a lot of its smarter, edgier jokes. The show ran for 4 seasons, but it was always a fight. The creators were always battling the network. Because of the constant moves, its ratings were all over the place. It was canceled abruptly after season 4 on a cliffhanger. In hindsight, maybe it should have ended after season 3, before the final messy year of network battles. Network battles can ruin a show. Our next show was a huge hit that ran for a decade, but it probably should have quit while it was ahead. 13. The Jeffersons.
Can your computer process 5 million bits of information in 4.2 milliseconds?
The joke's on you. We don't have 5 million bits of information.
We're moving on up. The Jeffersons was another massive spin-off from All in the Family. George and Wheezy Jefferson were Archie Bunker's neighbors, and they got their own show when George's dry cleaning business took off and they moved to a deluxe apartment in the sky. The show was a huge, important hit. It was one of the first and most successful shows to feature a wealthy black family. George Jefferson, played by Sherman Hemsley, was a powerhouse. He was opinionated, loud, and hilarious. His dynamic with his wife Wheezy, their son Lionel, and the wisecracking maid Florence was perfect. The show ran for an incredible 11 seasons. But did it need to? After about season 5 or 6, the show found its formula, and then just stayed there. The jokes about George being cheap or bickering with his neighbors, the Willises, just got recycled. It was still funny, but it lost the sharp satirical bite it had in the early years. It stopped being about moving on up and just became about being there. Recycled jokes get old. Our next show was also groundbreaking, but it lost its most important character and then turned its funniest character into a cartoon. 14. Good Times. Good Times started as a spin-off of Maude. It was about Florida Evans, Maude's former housekeeper, and her family living in a poor housing project in Chicago. For the first time on TV, we saw a complete, loving, two-parent black family, the Evans family, struggling with real-world problems like poverty and unemployment. The father, James, was a strong, proud man. It was powerful. But then, two things happened. First, Jimmy Walker, who played the goofy oldest son, JJ, became a huge star. His catchphrase, "Dynamite," took over the show. He went from a funny kid to a total cartoon, and the show's creator hated it. But the second thing was worse. The actor who played the father, John Amos, was fired after season 3 because he clashed with the writers over the show's new silly direction. A year later, Esther Roll, who played the mom, Florida, also left, disgusted that the show had become a stereotype fest. They ran the show without the mother or father for a whole season. They brought Florida back for the final season, but the damage was done. It should have ended when James Evans left. Losing the heart of the family is a blow. Our next show was built around one powerful woman, but even her fire couldn't keep the show from burning out. 15. Maude.
I'm not 70 years old. Mother, you can age a man faster than any woman I know.
I'll drink to that.
Maude was the first All in the Family spin-off. Maude Findlay, played by the legendary Bee. Arthur was Edith Bunker's cousin. She was the complete opposite of Archie, rich, educated, and a fierce, outspoken liberal. The show was revolutionary. It tackled subjects no one else would touch, like a woman's right to choose and mental health. Maude was a true feminist firebrand, and the show was brilliant. For its first few seasons, it was one of the smartest shows on TV. But after a while, the show started to feel repetitive. Maude and her husband Walter just seemed to yell at each other all the time. The show kept trying to find new, serious issues to tackle, but it felt like they were just going back to the same well. It started to feel more like a lecture than a comedy. Bea Arthur herself started to get tired of the role. The show ran for 6 seasons, but by the end, the revolutionary fire had gone out, leaving just echoes of the great show it used to be. A great show can become an echo. Our next show was a fun little comedy that was canceled, and then, for some reason, brought back years later when no one asked for it. 16. What's Happening?
Well, how come it smells different on you than it does on me?
You probably took a shower first.
What's Happening was a fun, simple sitcom about 3 black teenagers. The smart one, Raj, the shy one, Dwayne, and the big, lovable one, Rerun. They were always getting into silly schemes, and the show was full of big laughs, mostly from Rerun's goofy dancing and the sassy waitress, Shirley. It was a solid hit for 3 seasons. It was never a great show, but it was fun. It ended in 1979. But then, in 1S985, someone had the bright idea to bring it back in a new show called What's Happening Now. The cast returned, now as adults. Raj was a writer, Rerun was a salesman, and Dwayne was a computer programmer. The problem was, it just wasn't funny. The charm was gone. The jokes were flat, and seeing the adult versions of these characters was, to put it mildly, a little sad. The revival somehow lasted for 3 seasons, but it just felt like a clumsy attempt to recapture magic that was long gone. Sometimes bringing back a show is a terrible idea. But what about a show that's a spin-off of a spin-off? Our next show took a beloved character and dragged him through a show that just wouldn't end. 17. Archie Bunker's plays.
But you see, as beneficiary, I need your signature on the death claim.
I ain't signing no death claim.
All in the Family is one of the most important TV shows ever. Archie Bunker was a cultural icon. When that show ended, the producers weren't ready to say goodbye, so they spun it off into Archie Bunker's place. Archie buys his local bar, and the show continues. At first, it was okay. Most of the old cast was still around. But then, at the start of season 2, the unthinkable happened. We learned that Archie's beloved wife, his dingbat Edith, has passed away. The episode where Archie deals with his grief is one of the most heartbreaking, powerful half hours of television ever made. And that is where the show should have ended. It would have been a perfect, sad, and beautiful ending. But it didn't. The show kept going for 3 more years. It became, as the user note says, maudlin, which is a fancy word for overly sad and sentimental. It was just Archie, sad in his bar. The comedy was gone. The edge was gone. It was just the ghost of a great show. A show losing its comedy is one thing. Our next show was a comedy that just got weird, and then kept going in syndication, which is like a show that's half alive. 18. Too Close for Comfort.
The tickets to Old Calcutta. Do you remember the seat numbers?
No, Sarah picked him up.
Too Close for Comfort starred Ted Knight, who was famous as Ted Baxter on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Here, he played Henry Rush, a cartoonist who is overprotective of his 2 beautiful adult daughters, who live in the apartment downstairs. The show was full of silly plots and dad jokes. It was a decent, if forgettable, sitcom. It ran on the ABC network for 3 seasons and was then canceled. But in a move that was common in the 80s, the show's producers kept making new episodes to sell directly to local stations, which is called syndication. This is where it got weird. They added a new goofy character named Monroe. The daughters moved out. The dad's overprotectiveness, the whole point of the show, didn't make sense anymore. The show just became a forgettable farce, a bunch of silly, low-budget episodes that kept the name but lost the entire plot. It just drifted around on TV for 4 more years. Drifting around is a sad way to end. Our next show was a vehicle for a huge child star, but it kept going long after he stopped being a child. 19. Silver Spoons.
Alfonso, you're my pop. You're the Tower of Pisa. You're the smile.
Silver Spoons was the show that made Ricky Schroeder a massive teen idol. He played Ricky, a smart, serious kid who moves in with the rich, childish father he never knew he had. His dad, played by Joel Higgins, had a giant house full of video games and a ride-on train. It was every 80s kid's dream. The show was about the serious son teaching the silly father how to be a grown-up. For the first few seasons, it was a cute, lighthearted comedy. But here's the kicker. Kids grow up. As Ricky Schroeder grew into a teenager, the show didn't know what to do. It stopped being about the father-son bond. It turned into a generic teen drama with plots about Ricky's girlfriends and high school problems. It lost the one unique thing it had. By season 4, the magic was gone, but the show kept going for another season, a shadow of its fun, silly self. A show losing its central idea is a death sentence. Our final show was about a very proper butler, but it also hung on long past its expiration date. 20. Mr. Belvedere.
He got caught with this stuff called AIDS.
AIDS?
The premise of Mr. Belvedere was a classic, A stuffy, proper, and brilliant British butler, Mr. Belvedere, takes a job working for a normal American family, the Owens, in a boring suburb. The comedy came from the culture clash. He was smart and refined. They were not. He would write about their goofy behavior in his journal at the end of every episode. The show was clever and had a lot of heart. The butler, played by Christopher Hewitt, had great chemistry with the family, especially the youngest son, Wesley, who was always in trouble. The show was a solid hit for 5 seasons. But then it just kept going. The 6th and final season was a mess. The network, ABC, aired the episodes completely out of order. There were endless, boring holiday special episodes. The kids were all grown up, and the family dynamic was gone. It was a show that had quietly and gracefully run its course, but it was forced to stick around for one more clumsy, awkward season.